Oh, boys, wasn't that fun? Hey, boys, wasn't that fun? Hit a nerve. Oh, that show hit a nerve. See you next week, guys. Thanks so much for the fun. Keep sending us questions or comments. Have a good day. Well, Jeff, what a week. Everybody's sick. Everybody's upset. Everybody's going crazy. And apparently, one team is the best team in the NHL, according to the NHL Network. Do you think that you can pick the best team in the NHL when not every team has played each other?
I think that's might be a little bit of a bridge too far to make that assumption. Now, what I would say is I think you could probably look at the top teams in each division and say in a normal year that they would be fighting it out for top spot, or they'd be in the mix. But I think most people would probably, if they had to say the best team in the league, they would probably go with Tampa unless they have a hometown favorite right now. But Tampa's not even in first place in their division this year right now. So Florida is. So
to me, I see somebody, I can't remember who it was, but I was watching a report, and they said the best team in the NHL is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm just like, well, they've played nothing but 8 teams, so that's great, but they may run into St. Louis or Vegas, and suddenly they are not the best team in because their style of play does not fit against those teams. I think it's easier to call the best team out of the southern teams rather than the north. Am I crazy there? It makes me mad. It makes me mad. I know that Toronto press has to say that Toronto's the best team in the league, but it makes me mad that they think they can pick the best team in the league when not everybody's played everybody.
Yeah, well, I would say Toronto's one of the most entertaining teams in the league. I definitely would say that, and they're probably in the top, I don't know, 8, maybe top 5. So they're top 8 team for sure, I think. But you're right. When there's 7 teams in the North. There's 8 teams in every other division. Some of the teams in these divisions, like up north, we know we'll get to a few of them later, but they've had a really tough year. And then, but you've got some kind of teams that have not been great in the other divisions in the States. So, I think I'd probably go more with a team that's more proven track record, say in the playoffs over the last couple of years, to say that they're one of the best teams. And that's not to say Toronto can't get through the North and end up in the semifinals this year. They certainly can.
Well, they don't. I think it's hard to call the best team as well when they're still struggling. They have a goalie controversy in Toronto, don't they? They haven't solidified their number one goalie, and the one guy that is actually destroying his numbers is still injured, and they can't ride him yet. So I don't know. I think it's a bad thing to say that one team is the best team in the NHL.
I think you could say. I guess the way you could look at it this year is, like we said, Toronto is entertaining. I look up at different divisions, and I look at teams that I would consider very dangerous if you saw them in the playoffs or as the season goes on. And so without the crossover, I mean, normally the teams out west play the teams out east twice, once on at home, once on the road during a normal season, so it's a little tougher to kind of. Pittsburgh, like we talked about, I don't know, it felt like 2 years ago, but it's probably only about 5 or 6 podcasts ago. Pittsburgh only comes through Vegas or Vancouver or Denver or through Colorado once a year. They go out and play them once a year. Same thing with the Capitals, Tampa Bay. These are great teams against other good teams. And it's tough to put a finger on it. But I would go this year more like who's entertaining and the team that I think
that's a good way to put it. Who's the most entertaining team in the league might be.
Yeah. And who's dangerous.
Yeah.
And we could go through a whole list of them, but I would be a little bit I tap the brakes a bit on anointing one team as the best team, although that's what drives conversation, right?
Right. Well, I'm the best comedian in Czechoslovakia, even though I've never been to Czechoslovakia. I know that's not even a place anymore. That's what it feels like to me. I'm the best over there. That's fantastic.
I think you're just the best. Period.
I'm just the best.
You are the best.
I get chirped like less than 3 minutes into this goddamn podcast. Anyways, it's funny that you bring up that there's 7 teams in the North Division, because it does look like there may be only 6 teams for the rest of the season.
That's right.
Do you think? Now, this is we were going to go someplace else, but I'm going to go this way first with Vancouver. Do you think there's any chance that they don't play again this year? Now, and there's more to this question. Do you think there's any chance that suddenly the Utica Comets are now in the NHL? Like, what do they do?
How about just yes and yes, so we can talk about it? So here's what the problem is for those people that might not be aware. Vancouver Canucks have last check, and it might have changed. We're taping this on a Monday. Last check was Sunday. They had 20 members of their team in the COVID protocol.
They could be at 33 by now.
Yeah, it could be all of them by now. I mean, and I think 3 coaches. So you have, I mean, this virus affects, everybody in such a different way. Some people you never know they had it. Other people, it really, really takes the wind out of their sails. So I don't know. Like, I mean, you've got guys that you're hearing different reports coming out of Vancouver. Some are really sick. Some aren't as sick. Whatever way you want to slice it, you're looking at a minimum of 2 weeks. So you're talking the last half of April, and there's a real possibility that the NHL is going to be like, hey, sorry about your luck. Your American League team, those guys, they're all COVID free. Let's go. Put them in a Vancouver Canuck uniform, and good luck chasing Connor McDavid around.
Exactly. Well, that's what you have to think about, that because it's 2 weeks until the virus goes out of you. But that doesn't mean that you're in shape. Like that, you haven't worked out for at least a week if you're sick, and then you got to get back into some sort of just normal human shape, and then you got to get into NHL shape. So even if it took them 3 weeks to start playing again, they're a mess for at least 4 or 5 weeks. So,
yeah, and then how the real time crunch on this season is the Olympics, and we assume those are going to start in the middle of July.
Mm-hmm. So the Summer Olympics. I don't know why we have to.
The Summer Olympics are going to happen this year. So the NHL and NBC down in the States has the TV, and I think they've made
is that why?
Clear. Oh yeah, they've said, hey, listen, we can't afford, and we're not. We're going 24/7 with the Olympic coverage, right? But the other thing is the NHL has to kind of try and get back on some kind of semblance of their normal schedule here in the next year. And maybe it means they cut down to 48 or 52 games. Maybe it means the American League team in this case, the Canucks, maybe their players, a bunch of those guys have to come up and play. And I mean, what a terrific opportunity for them.
Right.
I mean, I would be like, yeah, let's go. But
what do you call them? Would you call them would you rename them instead of the Utica Canucks? Would you have to would they be the actual Vancouver Canucks in the league? What if they, and I hate to interrupt you, which I don't, but
no, it doesn't bother you at all.
What happens if they don't play? Like, what would they just? How would they add games on to? Would everybody get an extra game against each other, or how would they do that? Like, if they didn't want to bring up the AHL team, stumble over my words, stumble.
Well, I think it's perfect. You're stumbling, the NHL stumbling with this. It's and we never stumble normally, so it's okay. But
perfect.
We're never. But I don't know. I think you are in a situation where the NHL also might be saying to the Canucks, hey, how did this happen? Vancouver came off a week off, or roughly a week off, then a nice big break in their schedule, and then they started having players test positive. And
I'll tell you what they're going to say. Where did Virtanen go? That's what they're going to say. They're going to say, Virtanen, where did you go? They're just going to trace it back to that. Better bleep that out.
Yeah. You're taking all these guys down, but I don't know. Something happened on the way to Grandma's house, and now the Canucks and the NHL are in a tough spot. And I don't know if the NHL, one way of penalizing the Canucks, if they feel they were violating or weren't as strong in the protocols, is like, hey, guess what? Your American League team's going to tee off tomorrow night against Toronto. Good luck.
Awesome.
That's possible.
which is weird because Toronto's the best team in the league. What's funny is the Roxy is on the way to Grandma's house. That's the problem. If you don't know about the Roxy, it's the most famous Vancouver hockey place in the world. Oh my goodness! I don't know. It kind of fits into if somebody did go off the rails there. I feel like we've all normal people have run into fatigue just in everyday life. These guys are doing the exact same thing. It's Groundhog Day for them. And I'm wondering if maybe mental fatigue is finding its way into my life. trying to get these words out. It seems like, do you get it? Do you get the feeling that it's kind of,
it's like Groundhog Day, and to go back, it's not like Vancouver and to finish because we're trying to get forward away from them, and so we'll
got to get away from the north.
So we can do that, but
we got to get away from the north.
We're going to get away, but we're talking about a league. We're talking about a global issue here. So this happens to be it's global, but it is, and so the issue that you have is. It wasn't like they didn't know what was going on. These guys were in the bubble in playoffs in Edmonton last year, and no one tested positive for COVID the whole time they were there. It was an unbelievable success. Now all of a sudden, things have changed, and who knows? Maybe the guy's riding his bike down the street, and the virus was in the air. We just don't know. But it's going to cause. It's going to continue to cause havoc here. And there's 200 players in the North Division. And I know that down in the States, there's a lot of players that have been able to get the vaccine. Mm-hmm. And I just, I was like, I'd be putting my whole team on the waiting list. Hey, before you guys throw those doses out at the end of the day, can we run 5 or 6 of our players down there? And, if they're on a standby list, like what's been fairly successful in a lot of other places,
exactly,
they could have maybe helped avoid this, because all of this is entertainment for us as we sit at home and start to come out of this this unprecedented times.
Well, it's true. They are kind of a little essential workers because they keep people's minds off of what's going on, so you gotta, if you want to keep the entertainment going, you gotta support them as well. And really, and I think it would be a great advertisement to just put a bunch of NHL players and basketball players and baseball players and just see them getting the needles, because it brings a whole, well, if they're doing it, I'm going to do it. The people that might be wishy-washy about it, because and this is not political anyway. This is all just health. This is just, we gotta, if you want to go to a game again, we gotta get healthy. I do. It's funny. Who's got the I think it's Detroit's got the games down the best. So you sit, and then there's 3 cardboard cutouts beside you, and then there's somebody else. I like that. That's pretty cool. Do you think you don't even, we're talking about the players, but how about the staff? Like, how they've got it? It's got to be more on them too. And even how about the referees? Like, what's the chances that the referees, because they're not playing, they're not using the same referees on every game, right? They're sending them all around the different places.
Well, yeah, the referees are kind of considered essential service people, so they are going back and forth across the border. But good. Here's the thing. We got into, we went off, we took the off ramp there. And
we're back on.
We had a nice lunch, and now we're coming back. Right, we're back. We're coming back onto the freeway. We're talking about fatigue. I think we 12 minutes. We're both ready to buckle today.
12th episode. Let's give up.
12th episode, 12 minutes. That's it. Mic drop.
The 12.
So we talk about fatigue. You're starting to see it. The fatigue of off the ice, of maybe being a little bit more lax with the protocols. Possibly, I don't know that for a fact. You're seeing it in the games, though. You're seeing some nights were just great hockey games. And then a night later, or back to back, or whenever it is, the next night, decent game, and then the other team just doesn't have the push to get back into the game, or it's just kind of back and forth. And so the fatigue is throughout these organizations. You're playing every other night, sometimes back to backs, and you're starting to see injuries start to show up. And we were going to talk about Tim Peel, the ref.
Correct.
I'll have to get back to that. The ref Tim Peel, who the NHL just cut bait on, after 19 years, this was going to be his last year reffing. A month to go in the season, they cut bait because he was overheard on a hot mic saying he had to get in the Detroit-Nashville game, I had to give Nashville a penalty. Well, there's these human factors in it. These refs, everyone talks about the players. The refs are going back to back, and they're game to game to game too. So
Right.
I don't know. Like I know the NHL wants to get this thing in, and I'm sure the players, everyone wants to get paid, and they're like, hey, yeah, we can get for a shorter season. But it's I just starting to see some games now where you can see that, whether it's mental or physical fatigue, that these guys, just some nights just aren't quite the same.
To me, that whole Peel thing, it's disconcerting for me for the league to treat the referees like they're not human, and they're going to say things. And there's going to be somebody on a team is going to say something to you and treat you a certain way where you're going to give them more penalties than somebody else that treats you a different way. We've seen it. If you've played hockey, if you get along with a referee, if you don't get along with a referee. So there's that when you say the human factor, I feel that, and this is just my opinion, I think the league panicked because of gambling. Once they seen that, and that to me, big business gets its head in again, and it affects the human part of the game. And I don't know which is worse. I don't know which side of that coin is worse. You're affecting the human game or not going to be big business.
Well, you think about this. A player does something stupid on the ice, and they'll get a hearing for that, and normally a hearing means some kind of suspension. It kind of seemed like there was a panic kind of, and I'm not saying that you that what he said, you got to give Nash, you got caught in the hot mic. People, when you're on that ice,
I'm not saying he shouldn't have been punished. I'm not saying.
Well, I mean, you know what? There's a lot of things that are said out there. Those guys are the refs are taking so much abuse during a game.
Yeah.
There's F-bombs flying all over the place at them. Like, they have to have the thickest skin of anybody in professional sports, I would think, because they're just getting it. And there's no out of bounds in hockey. There's 200 feet long by 85 feet wide, and these players you can hear everything out there. And
right.
So it's a match. It's kind of a dysfunctional marriage, but it's a marriage that's lasted a long time with the players and the refs. And they all, in the end, they all get along. They all, for the most part, chuckled. Guys know that there's going to be an even up call. If you get, let's just say someone draws 3 penalties in the first period, I can guarantee you by the end of the second, it'll be 3-2 because they'll even it up.
Who hasn't said, well, the next one's the other teams, or the next one we get, everybody. And a coach will tell you, hey, he's got your number tonight. He sees you out there. You're bright red and everybody's yellow. So be careful.
Unless you do something very undisciplined and something that's just off the rails, and they're like, no, we can't have that.
Right.
Then you'll get a little bit. But these guys, like, at the end of the night, if the penalties were 3-3 or 4-3, everybody kind of had their kick at the cat of trying to even the game out. And people might not like it, but there's a human factor involved with that. And we talk about human factors. We should probably get someone on that actually knows something about it one day on the show. But
we should get some humans on here.
Yeah, we'll get some people who can talk about it. But I think the Tim Peel situation is, when everyone's preaching more patience and, let's make sure we kind of unpack this a little bit more these days. And he just went chomp. And I agree with you. And I think it's a lot to do with the gambling. They were like, well, we can't have that. And a guy that did a great job for almost 20 years in the league and was well respected is gone.
I think people above him might have been trying to protect their necks more than they were trying to protect him, when they should have been trying to protect him. I'm not saying Colin is a but I'm just saying the Colin. Semicolon. I watched something the other day, an old time sporty show, and they were bragging about, we're going to watch this on super slow motion. We'll watch this on super slow motion. I think people watching the game, they don't say that anymore. So they show you the replay in slow motion, and you think that the refs should have seen it that exact same way. We disconnect from our head that they're in a live game, and there's very few times that they're being shown the slow motion. They have to continue on. Game keeps continuing on. So it's easy to, yell and scream after, see something slow and get a chance to look at it. I don't know. It's what do they call it? Monday morning quarterback. A lot of that goes on with refereeing more than actually Monday morning quarterbacking. They should call it Monday morning refereeing is what they should call it.
You got to be a special breed to be a ref because
a complete.
I remember being a ref in some kids' soccer games or on the ice, and I mean, my God, people that were some of our best friends, I thought by the time I was leaving the rink, they hated me. I was like, I'm just out there volunteering so the kids could play, and you're trying to let the game go. You're trying to not give anyone an advantage, and they do a great job. And you're right, especially in the NHL. And you go back and you'll see it in an offside call. Oh, how did he miss that? Well,
right.
He had like 5 bodies skating across the blue line at the same time, trying to figure out, who's dragging their legs so they don't go offside. And so the refs and the linesmen do a great job in the NHL.
They do a great job, and these are the people that complain the most that can't even count their change back to them when they get change. I don't want to do so. Shut up, Mick. Quit being better than everybody else. And I get it. I know I don't enjoy referees either, but I respect what they do. They have to. There's no game without them. Are we going to put robots out there? Nah, I don't like that. I think part of sports is the human element controlling the game. So got to be careful with that. What I'm trying to say is the Utica Comics will be playing the Toronto Maple Leafs next week. That would be awesome. God, let it happen. I hope we're correct about that. Much better than we were correct about the Calgary Flames making it to the playoffs.
I'm sorry. What did you say? It was broken and unreadable. I'm sorry. Come again.
We have to bring up that I think it was last week or the week before that we said Calgary Flames would be our dark horse. Well, it seems as though our horse broke all 4 of its legs while running, and we had to put it down. Just the worst.
Yeah. I don't even know if they've won a game since, and they got all these home games. I'm like, oh yeah, they got all these home games, but Montreal's not doing anything. Montreal's played 2 or 3 games in the last 3 weeks because they had their COVID issue, and no one can catch them. And they got all these games in hand. So if Montreal plays 500 on the way to the house, they're easily going to make it in. So yeah, sorry, Calgary fans, we maybe got the cart in front of the horse on that one for you. But
we got the horse. The cart ran over top of the horse. And do you think they just start selling? Will they start just selling players?
Well, again, it's the COVID era, and we talked about this earlier in the year. And you look at it, we'll bring it back down. Let's talk about Adam Henrique, who's he get 25 goals last year, and Anaheim waived him, and no one picked him up. So, is there this wink, wink, nudge, nudge?
It's got to be right. There's got to be a wink, wink, nudge, nudge a little bit, right?
Yeah, okay. So there's a protocol when you get to Canada. I'm sure there's some kind of protocol, like as far as getting a certain amount of tests, negative when you come to the States. When they're waiving, they're waiving. Yeah, it's probably wide open down here. That's true. But they're waiving these players, like a guy like Adam Henrique from Anaheim, and no one picked him up. And I mean, he's arguably a number 2 center. Maybe if you have all kinds of depth up the middle, you plug him in as number 3. And they're all like, "Oh, the salary cap hit." Well, like Colorado doesn't have salary cap issues, so they could have grabbed him.
The problem with the Anaheim Ducks, it doesn't matter how great a player plays; those jerseys just make them look like.
All right.
Nice response, Coffee. Shut up.
You're all fired up today. That's good. I don't know if
taking everybody down.
You were in Texas.
Yeah,
everything's bigger in Texas, and today
everything's more confused in Texas
today. Yeah,
it's great. By the way, we have to throw it out there. Jack Campbell, big article on the Athletic today, didn't even mention me. What a douche.
What was that? So, I mean, this Jack Campbell thing, is out of control. But what's he 8-0 or something? What was that stat I sent you a picture of the other night?
No. Yeah, 8-0. He's 8-0.
Like he played in I watched them play Winnipeg the other night. He stood on his head. So
the craziest part about him being 8-0, he's only played 7 games. That's how good he is.
That's right. You knew something was there. I know.
I told everybody, I said, listen up. Liquid Death is a fantastic water. Yeah. Liquid Death, proud sponsor of the round of Bagg. Liquid Death.
There it is.
Kill your thirst with Liquid Death. There we go. We got it in.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Let's get going here. See, that was another bang. That's telling us to move.
It's telling us to move along. Ovechkin surpassed, let's just do this real quickly. Surpassed Marcel Dion.
Yep.
Little Beaver. That's what they call him. Little Beaver. That's Marcel Dion, right?
I don't know. But the only guy that's happier than Ovi that he passed Marcel Dion, I think, is Brendan Dubinsky. Right? he was just probably doing it. For people that don't know, Brendan Dubinsky played for Columbus. He's out on long-term injury right now, but he was on some podcast last week, and they were like, well, who would you rather have, Sidney Crosby or Ovi? And he's like, Ovi every day of the week. And he kind of just threw some stuff out there. I'm sure he was just having fun with it.
He should have stopped it.
I'm like, oh my goodness. So
he should have stopped and just said Ovi. I'd rather have Ovi. I think he should just say I'm on long-term concussion. Like my head's not right. Like try to escape out of it, because people came hard at him. They're like, you leave Sidney alone. Even Sidney's mom was all fired up. It was crazy.
It's awesome. But let's just give Peace a chance there. Okay. Guy just said something on the podcast. Let it go.
Yeah.
But anyways, I kind of had a chuckle at it this weekend. I'm like, my goodness, this is just gaining steam. And, Sid don't have to worry about too much. He's got 3 Stanley Cups. He's a Hall of Famer and a gold medal. So I think he's doing okay. But probably love the props from of course. Dubinsky. So that's cool.
You know that Sidney doesn't even know who Dubinsky is. And so he's just like, oh, I thought he played goal for San Jose. That's probably what he's thinking, So you got to let it go. You have, and trust me, Sidney's heard way worse things. If you think him saying that on a podcast is going to all of a sudden he just retires and goes into a cave and cries the rest of his life. My God, they're hockey players, not goddamn figure skaters, you sons of bitches. Hey.
Okay.
By the way, I would pick Ovechkin just because he looks like he's been 52 for about 5 years.
Ovi would be fun to go out with for about half a night, because when he started jumping through the fountains and that, I'd be like hailing a cab. I'd be like out of there. He'd just be getting going, but he would be fun to go out with.
He's jumping through the fountains with Putin on FaceTime. So that's when you leave out of that one. Oh my God, we got a couple things to do. We got to get it going. We got to take it here. We'll move on to the stuff next week. We had a couple other things. We'll drink. They're evergreen, so we'll be able to talk about them. Jesse Ralph sent a letter in. Jesse Ralph, big time hockey player and comedian from Toronto, sent a letter. He wanted to know what the best chirp you've ever heard is.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot of them, mostly directed at me, but I'll think of one of those for next week. So one time, this story ends well, but it's kind of a little greasy at times. So years ago in junior, we had a couple guys screwing around and with their skates on, of course, after practice. And they were one of the other guys was walking to the shower, and one of them stepped back and cut part of his big toe off. And so I thought I said chirp. So here he is down on the ground, and he's like, and we're all like, oh my God, there's blood everywhere, right?
Right.
And so one of the guys goes, hey, are you okay? And he goes, no, I'm not effing okay. And this guy sitting there with a chew cup in his hand, Dave, I can't remember his last name. I wish I could right now. He goes, must have hit a nerve. I'm like, the guy's toes off. He's just sitting there with a chew cup going, must have hit a nerve. Anyways, the end of the story is.
How old was Dave?
Dave looked like he was 52 too.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
I can't remember his last name. It was in junior when I played Kelowna. But I'm trying to think.
Hit a nerve.
Oh, man, I wish I could remember his last name. But he's sitting there, and the guy's down on the floor trying to keep his toe on his foot. And Dave's like, must have hit a nerve. So as far as chirping something, about somebody, that happens all the time. Guys get chirped all the time.
Yeah, but still.
But if for just hearing a line, and so it all ended up good. A guy that
did he lose his toe?
Went on to play in the NHL for 10 years, so it was all good.
Who's that? Who's the guy the guy with the toe?
It was our goalie, Darcy Wakaluk, great guy, and from
Wakaluk.
Creek, Alberta, I do believe, and really good guy. And he was in Buffalo system, and I think they actually back then. Sorry, somehow we got to Buffalo, but Walk was a tough customer. It got his toe sewn back up, and I think he's probably playing about a week later. So anyway,
guy gets his toe circumcised.
A little longer, yeah.
Yeah, guy gets his toe circumcised. That is tough man right there. Oh my goodness. The best chirp, I'll just let you know there, Jesse, the best chirp I've ever had. Some lady yelled at me, "You're not taking comedy serious." That was the one that I got nailed with. I'm like, all right, you're not taking this seriously. That's what she yelled out. I'm like, you are at the wrong TED Talk, you son of a bitch. And we moved on. Hey, let's give some shout outs. Let's do some shout outs and get going because we are at 30 minutes. It just goes so quick on this show. We have a good time. Oh my God.
I had a couple of different ones this week, but I'll start with two young defensemen. And I apologize to Dylan Coughlin, who got a hat trick about 2 weeks ago. First 3 goals ever in the NHL, British Columbia boy. So Cogs got his first hat trick in the NHL, first defenseman this year to do it about 2 weeks ago. And Jacob Chikrin, who I just love watching, and he scored 3 goals on Sunday night. And Arizona is all of a sudden surging. So Dylan Coughlin and Jacob Chikrin, good for you guys. That's one of my shout outs right there. Both got hat tricks. I think the only 2 this year in the NHL for defensemen so far.
Keep going. You got one more? I'm trying to find my
Okay. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I want to also do a shout out to Tom Jones, the magician, not the magician.
The magician Tom Jones.
Because I was like,
you'll never find where I've hidden this ball on my body.
Yeah. So I was listening to him yesterday and on my Apple Music, and I looked down, and one of his albums was named "And Along Came Tom Jones," and I was like, "How cool is that?" It's not unusual, Ian. To be loved by anyone.
Along came Tom Jones.
Oh my God. I was like, how cool is that? So
Michael McBride is in the Air Force, and he comes out to my shows in Philadelphia. He's from that area. He's from the Westchester area, and his son, this is a picture of the team. They just won their championships. The Westchester East Ice Hockey Club. They are called the Vikings, and his son is one of the goalies on it. I'm going to put up their stats. We'll put up their stats and get it. But a big shout out to the Westchester East Ice Hockey Club, which is just the toughest name ever. I think isn't that middle? Like west and then east? That's right in the middle. I
don't know what you did there, but that was flawless. And all I can say is love to all.
Love to all. Congratulations, Vikings. Well, that episode hit a nerve. Make sure you follow us on our social medias and listen and share, like, and review. It means a lot. Take care. Congratulations, Vikings.